Um, by that time, and you always know naman no, na there are other organizations out there that people would intuitively enter. But I thought that there was something missing in all those organizations. I've always been a member already of UP Society, and in UP DepSo, wherein I was the most active, it was all about arguing about society and politics. But my challenge was, how do I apply this in real life? Because in the end, you only get to debate things. Sometimes, you debate for things that you don't even want to defend because you need to win the tournament, you need to win the debate. I wanted an avenue wherein, how do you apply these things that you know in debate to the real life and discuss it practically with people? And that was the selling point for me for UPETC. Because there's no other organization out there. You know, most organizations in UP Econ would raise funds, diba? Hold parties, provide scholarships for other people, but I think the name of economics towards consciousness really is all about adopting what you study in classrooms and practicing it in real life. And that for me was the selling point. That and accidental pa nga yun eh, because I didn't really know much about UPETC until I debated for UPETC. So by the time there was the JPES, is there still JPES? Motions in, oh, it's still called Motions in Motions. I debated there together with Anna Lorem, who was also a UPETC. And by that time, I was being active with Alianza, which is your partner party, right? And that was the first time I got to know UPETC and how UPETC was in alliance with Alianza at that time, because Jihan Osorio, who was running that time, was the one who was running for a position for Alianza. And yeah, and then sabi ko, okay, ano ba yung UPETC? What does it do? Why should I join? And for me, sa umpisa, I thought it was just like any other organization who was looking for a new member. Typical, ganun naman lagi, di ba? They want to recruit, if they saw the talent or they want to include you, liligawan ka. But the good thing about UPETC is that they didn't sell it to me so hard. That they just needed to tell me, okay, this is what we do, and this is what we want you to do. Jonats, how they call me pa nun. And yeah, there's this history. And I was with UPETC. And I will never forget my final rights. As in, let's not talk about that anymore. Yeah, because the final rights of UPETC is arguably wild. Ganun pa rin ba?
So, yes,
yeah? Okay. Okay.
So, you were Alianza first before going?
I think I joined both in the end. I was with Alianza but not officially a member. And then I became a member first of UPETC before I became Alianza afterwards.
Okay, so how was UPETC back then? I mean, how was it perceived by the UP students?
UPETC is always known for, how do you call this? We're a very grassroots, humble organization, right? If you know what I mean. We don't care what people think of us as long as we strike that objective correctly. We are ready to fulfill that. And I think that's what the org is supposed to be. If you know that you cannot aspire for something that's out of your objective, why get out of that path? Right? Most organizations in UP are so pabibo that sometimes, if it's not anymore part of what they're supposed to do, they would delve on it. And that makes them lose focus of what they're supposed to do. The good thing about UPETC is that it has always remained what it's supposed to do. And I think it's the reason why I think it has gone through a lot and yet has survived.
So how was the application?
Very hard. Very hard. Very hard. My body by that time was clap. You know, Clarissa Liza. And their president by that time was Catherine Daza. And character in you, right? It's a self-discovery thing. You realize things that you did not know was the way how other people perceived you pala. And it even tests you that akala mo malakas ka na in this aspect, yung pala, you know, you chicken out. You realize those things. And of course, I cannot say much about what happens in the final rights, right? But that's one thing I will never forget. Probably the final rights of UPETC is one thing I will never forget in my college life. Seriously. And I'm looking at this with a dazed eyes right now. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my stand. It was really an organization that I felt I was a UP student. I was a UP student because the essence of a UP student is giving back. The essence of a UP student is talking about things that are relevant for the society. Then it would be cheesy to say that you're a scholar ng bayan, right? But that's what UPETC made me in the end.
Your batch Layag.
Layag, yes.
Layag.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what Layag?
Layag is because we were talking about, sailing through a certain journey and getting from point A to point B. And layag means that in any journey that you get, that you undergo, you survive through it. So ang layag sumusunod kung saan man ang hangin. You don't go against it, you follow where it is, and then that's the reason why it will never be destroyed. Because you don't go against the tide, you surf with it. Kumbaga.
And sir, how were the members back then? How many were you?
We were 10.
10
No, 10 kaming applicants
Oh.
by that time. And then I think 7 kami or 8 na nakuha. By that time, we were 21 active members in UPETC. What else? We were also the champion of JPES at that time. That was the year we were the champion. Me, Jihan, and Anna Narem, who won as the counselor of UP Econ by that time. I remember maraming outings also. We would go out, we would go to a resort. Ako lang kasi lalaki nun eh. Puro babae ang PTC nung panahon na yun. Konti lang yung mga lalaki. And I would always remember that we were so successful in making yung economics talks. Yung typical talks na about that time, ang sikat pa nun is not only about UP elections, but that time it was all about currency, peso depreciation. That was the time it was getting bad. We were talking about the GMA, the GMA crisis, for example, that was very, very hot at that time. And we were very active in a lot of debates. We were the one who held an inter-school tournament for high school students, which is called the UPETC Inter-School Debates Society, to be the adjudicator and judges. It was very successful. There were 35 schools who participated. And it was a good way because commercially speaking, you also get to, politicize what the government should be all about. You tell at a young age to people that how can you make the government better, for example. And you talk about UPETC so that if these people get to UP Diliman in the end, UPETC is the best way to go. I'm not sure, ituloy pa ba yun? Or you guys should do that.
It's now called Eco Leadership Summit.
Okay.
It's not just
By UPETC.
Oh.
Also, wow. More, it's broader. Yeah.
And can you share to us the successes of ETC back then?
Successfully made an ETC debate tournament in a sense that is what ETC is all about, diba? Consciousness for people that these things that you learn in textbooks should be applied in real life. And the idea of talking about it alone is already an end in itself. Because that in itself is already raising consciousness, even among high school students. Na parang kami, why do you need to go to the college students if you can even start with the younger ones? Because it's easier to mold their minds as far as being conscious about the society is all about. So that one. We had lots of seminars and talks involving UP professors and also Alianza. Again, as I mentioned that time, I think we had a successful talk about the GMA administration. So that was very good. It was really something that other orgs would emulate and would applaud because, like I said, compared to other organizations, not just in Econ but in other schools, on other colleges, I think UPETC has always had the right balance of opinions. Most organizations would either turn in favor of a certain position, but because we are economic students and there's always, a mathematical point of view to everything, a decision science behind anything, that puts balance to arrive at a certain conclusion. And I like it about UPETC because we're there not to dictate to people what they're supposed to think, but we're feeding them the information so that they themselves can make informed decisions for themselves. Because we leave the power in their hands. We trust people that they will make the right decisions if they were, informed the right way.
Sir, back when you were a member, what was your vision for the future ETC?
We were thinking about, I think, ginagawa niyo siya ngayon. We were thinking of an Econ Summit that time. It's like a 3-day or 2-day event we're in. Hindi na siya naman materialize. A 2-day, 3-day event we're in. We talk about economic issues, empowering people, and that debate in itself is a conclusion for people to be aware of what's happening in society. So that one. By that time, I was envisioning na dumami ang members ng ETC.
Girl, no. What?
Wow! By the
I
time,
have 42 applicants.
that time that's a dream before for us because I think nga 21, kasi I think right pa na nung inactive. It was really a struggle.